spending on education and health infrastructure. That is way below what we are wasting in the energy sector. And all of us have to agree that we have messed up. We've not been able to do the basic thing of selling electricity and recovering the money and design a system that works. And that has to be as quickly as possible, because we can't, again, even waste another 1 billion. But it looks like it's going to be the situation for a longer period of time, to come. Because as we speak, the IPPs, my last count, we're owing about 1.7 billion as of May. If you add June to it, June is ended, we are inching close to $1 billion of, debt with the IPPs. On the gas side, we also have close to $600 million, and it's growing. We're consuming the gas. We are not paying for it. And even now, I'm being told that we are bringing in LCOs because WACO has curtailed the volumes going from west to east, because we are not also paying for the transmission of the gas. So they are now doing the minimum contractual volume of about 60 MMscf. So you have more gas even getting stranded in the west. And then people are taking advantage to procure light crude oil, and they don't care about fixing the problem itself, right? So these are the heavy liftings that we have to do quickly to ensure that we fix this problem and not allow the budget to be the one sustaining the light and keeping the light on. That is really irresponsible for us to borrow money to go and pay to IPPs or for gas. Look at the borrowings that we are doing. Some of them are 20 years tenor, 30 years tenor, 40 years tenor. So you go and borrow money for somebody who is not even born to come and pay in 40 years' time. And what you are doing with the money is not infrastructure that they will come and benefit, but paying the debt of the current generation. That is irresponsible. And we don't have to keep doing that to the unborn. And I think we need to really come together and say, it is enough. We need to fix this problem now.
First, you say we cannot raise $500 million.
From where I sit and what I know the fiscal situation to be, I don't think Ghana government has $500 million sitting anywhere that they can just go and take and give to the IPPs today. But I think what they can do, to have a sensible conversation that says, well, let's have a structure that allows us to pay the debt over time. But how do you even arrange that when there's more debt being accumulated on a daily basis? So we need to, first of all, fix the debt accumulation. And once we fix the debt accumulation, and this word has been re-echoed for almost a decade. We keep talking about debt accumulation, debt accumulation, debt accumulation. And we're not getting a hold of it. And it's worsening by the day. So if you are accumulating more debt, it means you're going to owe the IPPs more and more. So what are you even negotiating? Because what is outstanding is just a fraction of what is to come in the future. And that, for me, is the worrying part. We need to get hold of the accumulation. And the approach that is being used, the IMF thing that we have to now increase the tariff to achieve what they deemed cost-reflective tariff. But check it. Over the past 9 months or so, we've done 100% adjustment on the tariff. And the cash flow requirement has worsened over the period. So it tells you that there are multiple things that we need to do to improve efficiency of the system and be able to collect the money and pay the value chain. If we don't do that and think that we can just increase the tariff, the more we're increasing the tariff, the more the inefficiencies we generate. And how that happens, we need the managers to tell us, how we resolve those problems. Because if the managers don't have a solution to the problem, then they are not the required managers for us at this point.
You're saying even if we find $500 million, we are just, in essence, postponing the problem. It will only get worse. That's not a solution.
Yeah, if you give them $500 million today, it will mean that we are going to borrow, right? Ghana's interest rate, even if we assume it was pre-IMF, that's about 8%. Today, Ghana government can get a loan not less than 8%. So even if you get it at 8%, $500 million to give to IPPs. I mean, what interest is that? In a year, you'll be paying about about 40 million, right? On just interest for that loan that you'll be borrowing to pay for power consumed or wasted. It's not any productive use. You're not going to put it into any productive use. You're going to borrow and give to the IPPs, and you'll be paying about 40 million on interest alone. And then the future generation will have to pay for it. I mean, we can't keep up with this kind of waste. We need to find a way to resolve this debt accumulation quickly. Those of us here have to pay for it. We need to have a conversation on how we pay for these things. Let us not push these debts into the future. We need to understand the strategy that government has. We need to understand what government thinks will work, and then interrogate it and say, no, this is an approach that works. Let's see how all of us can chip in, pay off the debt, and clean up the system and make it work and make it functional for the future. Not pile the debt and push it for future generations to come and absorb.
$2 billion annually. Government has to find $2 billion annually just to pay for the waste that we're seeing in the power sector alone. You're talking about, if you're looking at the current exchange rate, you're going in the region of 22 billion or more cities.
Yeah, even 2023, government itself predicted that it was going to spend about 23 billion for under recoveries if things don't change. But it does appear that we have to pay that because there is no system in place to actually change the trend. And so it tells you that the prediction is going to crystallize. Government is predicting that at business as usual, if we don't do anything, by 2026, the total under recoveries will be about 97 billion Ghana cedis. All right. So we know the problem that is ahead of us. How do we fix it? It's the job of leadership. We have to do it now to avoid such debt crystallizing over time. But it does appear that 2023 is already crystallizing, which we have to pay.
And it seems you are not confident in the leadership we have currently, that they are able to solve the problem sustainably.
See, the problem is not solving, so it means that the people who are managing it are not doing their job, and they are not resolving the problem. So it's not me, it's the data that is saying it, that the people who are supposed to manage the power system and deliver it are not delivering, they are not working, they are not achieving results. And the data shows. The under recovery shows. The inefficiencies in the sector shows. All right. So it mustn't be me saying it. Their own data shows that they have not been efficient. They have not been delivering value to the Ghanaian people. And that's why we have to always go borrow and pay IPP debt. So that is the situation that we are in. It's not for anybody to say. It's the data that is actually showing that the system has been poorly managed and that we have to change course. For Ghana to benefit from the grid rather than always having to borrow to support the grid.
So if we are not able to find some urgent solution to fixing the waste and under recovery, the business of buying and selling power will become more and more a wasteful venture that will require government intervention. Maybe at some point, even government will basically be paying for everything. We'll be paying the IPPs to supply power.
Absolutely. I mean, we are almost there. We are almost there. Because even this month, the IPPs have not received anything.
Nothing at all?
They haven't received anything from ECG. I remember that I think they were trying to give them $2 million each. I mean, you owe somebody 1.7 billion. And you owe these guys 1.7 billion. And you offer 2 million each to them. That is a drop in the ocean. So, I mean, the system is so, I don't know how to put it, but the numbers are staggering. We need to see the urgency and stop delivering speeches. We need to see the urgency to fix the problem. And that has to be now, because if you wait for a day, 2 days, 1 month, 1 week, then it's getting worse. And that is the reality.
Let me ask you, what's accounting for the losses we are seeing? You talk about under recovery, but what else do we need to do it?
Well, it's as simple as buying power and making sure the power that is purchased can be sold and the money recovered. PURC approves tariffs. And when they are approving the tariff, they account for generation, they account for transmission, they account for distribution. All of these components are in the tariff that we pay. Somehow, we are told that people steal power, and then some transformers and systems are, weak, and therefore, cumulatively, that gives us over 30% of power loss. That is not sustainable. That is too much of wastage in the system. If you even account, and some of the inefficiencies are even in the tariff. I think about 23% is already factored into the tariff for us to pay. So what is in the tariff and what is not in the tariff, the difference is for government to find ways to actually pay for that. But even what is accounted for in the tariff, ECG is not able to collect the revenue. So the revenue collection is also below par. So if you put the under collections and losses together, you are way above 50% of the power that they buy. So what that means is that if you give ECG $1 million worth of power, more than 50% of that money cannot be accounted for at all. Before you even come to what they collect, what they do with it. You get it? So what they even collect, there's a problem. They did set up a catch water flow mechanism. The government set up a catch water flow mechanism that says that whatever you collect, just put it in the pot so that we then proportionally give everybody in the value chain some money. But now ECG collects the money. They don't collect enough. And then they abuse what is collected. And nobody else gets paid.
What solution can we get if we can raise $500 million immediately? Because at least we need to keep the lights on while we are looking forward to solving the problems that are currently plaguing our power sector. What can we do urgently today?
No, I think today is just talking to the IPPS. The only thing that we can do today is talk to them to say, hold on, let's find a lasting solution to this problem. Because as I indicated, the bigger problem is the recurrent losses or accumulation of the debt. So they will also be interested in how, in the long term, we fix the problem. Because millions are being accumulated on a daily basis. So we need to have that good faith, if you like, good faith conversation with them. And this time around, put in place a plan that shows that we are going to have to be able to pay on a monthly basis. In fact, that's what the IMF is expecting. The IMF is expecting that going forward, ECG will be able to absorb the cost from the value chain so that government deals with the existing debt. But it doesn't appear that it's going to be attainable without doing the heavy lifting of ensuring that the structures are in place to reduce the inefficiencies and then also collect the revenues to be able to pay the value chain. I mean, recently you've been hearing ECG saying they've collected 3.1 billion cedis or so. And you can't see it in any accounting data. Where is the money? That's what everybody is asking for. So that has to change. And we need to be able to make sure that everybody consuming electricity pays for the electricity consumed. We've done a lot of work trying to support ECG and government to look at how some of the leakages happen. Even ECG workers themselves are part of the problem. Where people consume power, they go and change the meters for them. There's a term they call abortion meters. So they come, if you have consumed, hundreds of thousands, they just destroy the meter and they bring you a new meter. Or connect it directly and give you a flat rate because the meter is faulty. And even today, there are no meters. You do a scan, go to ECG offices, send your reporter to go to ECG offices and look at the queue of people applying to get meters. There are no meters in town. You have power on the grid. The line is active. People have to consume the power and give you money. You can't provide meters for them to consume the power and pay you. These are the problems.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ben, for speaking to us. You've given me a lot to think about this morning. He's the Executive Director of African Center for Energy Policy, speaking to